This program is brought to you by Emory University.
On March 3, 2015, the Office of the Provost at Emory University hosted a forum titled Managing a Public Intellectual Profile. The panelists examined the challenges and opportunities of creating and maintaining public intellectual profiles and protecting online reputations in an era dominated by digital media and social networks. The speakers were Cecile Janssens, Professor of Epidemiology at the Rollins School of Public Health, Julie Winch, Director of Social and New Media at Emory, and Tressie McMillan-Cottom, a doctoral candidate in sociology at Emory. In this video, Professor Janssens describes how she grew into using digital media and social networks as her public scholarship profile expanded.
I started my career in the Netherlands. I moved here 2 years ago, and in the Netherlands, so I gradually grew into this public discussion of my work. And there were my work is about genetic testing, especially for common diseases like heart disease and asthma and type 2 diabetes. And when I, very early on in my career, I published an article about commercial genetic testing. So how useful is that? And so the conclusion of my paper was that commercial genetic tests cannot predict those diseases very well, and that of course was news that was easily being picked up by the media. That was back in 2008, and at approximately at the same time I also was doing grant writing, and in the grant writing that I was doing, I was preparing for several career grants, and with career grants really the person is almost more important than the project. So I got a consultation about that from the university, and one of the first recommendations I got there was that I needed to have an online profile. Because at that point I was still working very much on my publications, and I thought that publications and my idea were the most important. But this consultant, she said that, you know, the reviewers, they Google and they try to find you online, so you should create a profile online that you manage, so that they don't find through all the other things that people write about you, that they disagree with you, etc. You should do LinkedIn, or you should create a personal website. Well, it was way before I was interested in LinkedIn and even not thinking at all about a personal website, so I did LinkedIn. I also had to do minimal 150 contacts, she said, because with fewer contacts that was not a network. So that was a very short period that I really invested in LinkedIn, getting all the details right, and make my profile there. And so the two of them, they were happening approximately at the same time. So my research was getting more attention in the media. I was becoming in the Netherlands an expert where it was about genetic testing for common diseases. So every time there was a new test on the market, or the journalists, they called me. And also, I became convinced that the public profile is important because I got 2 major grants. I got 3 major grants, but 2 after consultation. So I thought that really creating your online profile, that really works, and it really puts you on the map. So as a result of that, I got more and more media coverage. I really liked it. I really invested a lot in it. I really find it very important to communicate in very plain language with people. I got more and more invitations to participate in debates, to go to science cafes, to talk about my research. And also I got invited more for committees, more societal committees, including several committees for the Dutch Health Council, who advises the Ministry of Health, on policy, etc., around many health topics, including genetic testing. So that was really all going very well, and then I moved to the United States. And in the United States, scientists, in my field, they know me, but the public doesn't know me at all. And so I didn't get invitations, and I didn't get into committees, and sort of the thing that I really liked in doing all this public scholarship, I suddenly missed it here when I came here. And so even though I never, except for my LinkedIn page, which I carefully designed, the first 150 contacts, I never did anything very purposely on creating this public profile. But then I was thinking, I'm not going to wait 5 years. That was about the time it took in the Netherlands to get a public profile. So I thought I have to take this a bit more active. And maybe it is something that you're going to tell what we should do in a minute. I'm not sure. I just found my way through. But I think one of the major things that I did, and I really thank that Emory for that, was the Public Voices Fellowship. And I was there with Tim, and I think also you did it the year before me. I think that really was such a change. I learned, a bit more how the media works. I also got some access to the Huffington Post and some other outlets, and it really helped, enormously to get myself into the media here, but also to get my ideas in the media here. And then we learned in the op-ed class, we learned that we had to have Twitter. And that's still a struggle for me because I know, it's too much information, and I still do not know how, very productive scientists can manage a Twitter account. But I learned some tricks. I met a very, very famous scientist in my field. He said, I use Twitter, I just use it when I read something that I want to remember, I put it on Twitter. And so he uses it as a backup for Twitter. I said, that's a nice idea. So now I do Twitter as well in that format, so I'm much more productive on that. But I also use it when I write a scientific article or when I write an op-ed. I use Twitter to send it out. Well, it's not very unfortunate, but I don't have that many followers on Twitter because I'm not so very active on Twitter. But I have a few followers who apparently like what I write and they distribute it to a bigger audience. And so, against my own expectations, I also I created a website for myself more than a year ago because when I came here, I was designing my own courses. The first 2 courses that I organized, because I'm new here, I think I had 8 students in one class and 14 in the other. I think, that's a waste of energy. I'm creating all this course materials for such a small group of students. I would like to have a place online where I can put my materials and then share them with a broader audience. I can do Coursera, but maybe that's a future step. I don't know. Not a plan yet, but I thought having a website, putting my lectures on there, putting my resources on there. But I found that totally scary. So that website was dormant for a year, and so I didn't use it. I gave my class, and then, but until this year, the second year of my classes start, and then I thought, okay, now it's the time to really make this work. I also by that time had a few op-eds written, so I could put them on the website too. So now I have this website, but I have to say that I felt very, very uncertain about doing that because. It is uncomfortable. So there, for myself, I really had the idea that I was crossing the line of self-promotion. So when journalists write about you, it's because they're interested in your work. But making your own website is sort of felt for me for a long time as crossing the line. Also because I'm from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands we have this saying that if you act normal, it's already crazy enough. So this making a website, and it also called Janssens.org, I don't think that's really over the top. But I did it, and I like it. And so the nice thing of it is that I do share my resources there. People occasionally look at it. It's still a challenge whether there are those robots or real people, but I do get retweets also on Twitter of the blogs that I write. And also what I do is that I use my blog to pre-test ideas that I later want to change into an op-ed, yes or no. And when people already start sharing my blog on Twitter, I think it was a great topic, and then I write it sometimes into an op-ed. So I don't regret it yet, but I take it very, very serious and very, very cautious. It's like I want my public profile to be a reflection of what I do in science. So I don't say, just make comments about everything around me. I just really focus on the things that are my expertise. And so it is already paying off because my blog has already been cited several times in other op-eds and on websites. And so one of the things you were mentioning, and I also blogged about, I wrote 2 op-eds about 23andMe, which is a commercial genomics company here in the United States. And so I've written 2 or 3 op-eds about their relationship with the FDA. And last November I was invited at the roundtable discussion at 23andMe because they want to talk with their fans and their critics. They invited me, and I think surely this is one of the spin-offs of this op-ed. And also the FDA invited me to a workshop about the new regulation of genomic tests earlier this year. So I'm really thinking that it is paying off. It's really tiny steps, very comfortable steps. what I, first in the Netherlands, I was growing into this public profile, and here I did some conscious steps in making it based on the experience in the Netherlands. And I think it is, if you ever consider it, I think it's maybe a good idea to start what is the core of your expertise, and from that make it a bit broader. One of the benefits also, what I learned from communicating and talking to the public, and also writing the blog, writing the op-eds, is that I really feel that also my scientific writing and my grant writing has become much better. I focus more, get to the point faster, and also try to keep the attention, because oftentimes the readers of our scientific work, especially grant reviewers, are lay public on my topic as well. So I think that having this public profile and really benefits. It's not only just for Emory, for yourself to have a bigger name, but also it benefits the science as well.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.